Hello everyone, it's Lindsay, and today I have another process video for you guys as I work through the From Above devotional kit from BytheWell4God. This was sent to me for review, and I am slowly working through it because I have a lot of other projects going on. But as I sat down to look at day 2, it so perfectly went with the sermon that my church had this week. And so I thought I'd pop in and just kind of share my process and some of my connections that I made with the verse. So today we're talking about the gifts and being thankful to God for the gifts that He gives us. And this goes along with our sermon because we were talking about praying to God and bringing our requests to God and what that sometimes looks like. And God will sometimes answer those requests and give us what we're asking for. Sometimes He gives it to us in a way that looks totally different than what we were requesting. And sometimes there's just silence and He doesn't answer those requests. And that's because God is all-knowing. He knows exactly what we need, when we need it, and we need to be thankful just for His steadfastness and the hope that we can have and the faith that we can have, that He loves us enough to gift us the gifts that we need when we need it, and just being thankful that He's a God that loves us enough to answer those requests at times. And at times those answers look very different. She says, and we talk about, how the gifts look different than how we were asking. And so, maybe some of us have prayed for God to give us a spouse, and the spouse that God gives you looks totally different than what you had envisioned for yourself, your marriage. Maybe some of us have prayed for children, and the children that we are gifted turn out totally different, aren't the perfect angel children that we thought we were going to have, but we still need to give thanks to God for those gifts that He's given us. And so we're looking at Matthew chapter 7, and I'm going to kind of do this whole chunk here from about verse 7 all the way to 12. We're just looking at verse 11 for this day of devotion, but I think it's really important to look at the context and what's being said here. So this is Jesus speaking. He says, "Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be opened to you. For everyone who asks receives, and the one who seeks finds, and the one who knocks the door will be opened. Who among you, if his son asks him for bread, will give him a stone? Or if he asks for a fish, will give him a snake? If you then, who are evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father in heaven give good things to those who ask Him? Therefore, whatever you want others to do for you, do also the same for them, for this is the law and the prophets." And so what He's saying here is not necessarily that whatever you ask for, God is going to give you, but He, like a parent, God knows what's best for us, and so He is going to give us gifts in that way and what He knows is best for us. At Christmas time, we may want to buy our kids $5,000 worth of gifts, and we know that that's not what's best for them. Even if you have the means to do that, you, for the most of us, know to hold back, and that isn't the best way to do for them. It's not best to buy them $100 worth of candy and let them eat it all day. Whether they ask for that or not, we know that that's not what's best for them. And so we just need to remember that God knows what's best for us and knows what gifts and the timing that those gifts needs to come. So I have pulled out a few different products from BytheWell4God to work. I am working in the Illustrating Bible. I've pulled a couple stamp sets. I have Grateful Birdie. This is one of the add-on stamp sets that you could pick up, and I wanted to use this word thanks. I have the From Above stamp set. I'm going to use this little tag that I stamped out on some cardstock already, and I will probably color it. I haven't decided how I'm going to do that yet, but I'm going to use that. I'm also going to use this little flourish piece in there, and then I've pulled out some of the die cuts, and so I'm going to just kind of create myself like a little, I don't know, vignette type deal here, and that way I can I think it's going to go something like this. So I'm going to have these kind of laid out, and then I'm going to use the watercolor swatch card, and I'm going to make almost like a wind, I guess, so like the leaves are falling through wind with the watercolor and this little flourish stamp, and then I'm going to leave myself an area here to put my title and then some journaling, I think is my plan. So I'm going to go ahead and put you on fast forward, and we'll just see how this evolves as I work through illustrating through this devotional. Okay, so I'm going to begin with the background. I'm going to stick this Bible mat under there just to protect the other pages. And we are just going to go in and wing it. I did something similar to this in Gratitude Documented last year in my other Bible, this like watercolor like wind, I guess. And so I'm kind of trying to recreate that. And so by using the swatch card that comes with the kit, you are guaranteed to know these colors are going to work together because they're working together in the kit. So you don't really have to think about what colors to use. You just have to think about like which shapes you want to use with which colors. And so I'm using these more neutral greens and ochre colors as the big swatches, and then I'll come in and add pops of that really beautiful violet shade. And at this point, it's looking a little more angular than I wanted. I wanted it to look really flowy, and so I do have to go back in and kind of fuss with those little marks and kind of get it to look how I want. But a lot of this gets covered up with the title and the die cuts we're putting down, so this is just adding some interest to the background. The nice thing about these watercolors is they are Daniel Smith, so they're really nice artist quality watercolors, and I don't have any problem with these bleeding through the pages in any of the Bibles I've ever tried them in. And these swatch cards are nice because it gives you a chance to play around with watercolors, test out watercolors, and test out nice high quality watercolors without having to invest a whole lot of money. And really there's enough paint on these cards to get you through the kit. So if you are on a budget as far as craft supplies go and you're not wanting to invest in a whole lot of watercolors and things like that, you can just work with the watercolors that are on these swatch cards and then save the swatch cards, because then you can kind of mix and match those colors in other projects if you have paint left over. And Lori over at BytheWell4God also sells like large swatch sheets with like, I want to say it has like 60 or 70 different paints on it in the same kind of like dot format. I will link that down below, and then that gives you some more paints you can play with, so you can check that out. So I've got all of the little wind detail, and now I'm going to go in and stamp this little flourish. And so I pulled out this Delicata rose gold ink. This was also from BytheWell4God. This is a really gorgeous ink. Some of you, if you ordered the illustrating Bible from her, got a little mini cube of this in your order, and it is so beautiful. But it is like a pigment ink, and so you want to make sure that you heat set it and let it dry really well before you touch it, because it will move and take a little bit longer to dry than some other inks. And so now I can kind of figure out how I want this to look. So I'm going to stage it with the die cuts, and then I actually end up going in and just adding a few more swatches of watercolor just in some areas that I feel like are getting really covered up by these die cuts. But you can see, since the paints were put together to match the kit, they perfectly match these leaves and really coordinate with them, and so it all works together, and you don't really have to overthink it. It's just, you can sit down and focus on the devotional content and the scripture and not worry and think about how you're going to put your page together, because there's so much product and all the elements really work well together. Here you can see I'm adding some more like curves to those shapes to add a little bit more movement. Now I've gone ahead and stuck all those down and cut off anything that was hanging off the edges of the page. And now we can work on the title. So there are stickers. I believe there's a sticker and a die cut that say thanks in the kit. So if you didn't pick up one of the extra stamp sets, don't worry. There's enough stuff in the kit that you can get away with making a page similar to this without getting the extra stamp sets. But I have them, so I'm going to use them. I am stamping with VersaFine Onyx Black ink. This is my favorite detail ink to stamp with. It gives you really crisp images. I didn't have any problem with bleed through. I've also pulled out some it's like a typewriter font. I will link some of these down below for you guys. I use these all the time, especially with this Gratitude Documented month and all of these projects I'm doing. It's a really easy way to just add simple words like for and the and like filler words into your titles. And off camera, I had tried to hand letter the word gifts, but it was not working. And then I found every time I tried to erase it over the top of the paints and that Delicata ink, it was smearing and making a big mess. So I decided to scratch that idea and pull out this alpha stamp set. This is a recent one from BytheWell4God when they did the just in time devotional last month. This was the alpha that was released at the same time, so I will link that down below. And it really worked well with the style of Christina's font that she has. So now you've got their title, thanks for the gifts, and then I've got that tag that says from above, and again I did stamp that on cardstock and just fussy cut it out. And to color it, I'm going to use some brushed corduroy distress oxide ink and a makeup brush. This is just a Wet n Wild dollar store makeup brush, and so it adds this really soft color to things, and then you can just build up the color. I know I'm a little bit off screen here, I'm sorry, but I'm just really just messily adding that color to the tag to add some dimension and color to it so it pops off the white background. Go ahead and punch a little hole there, and then I have some copper thread that I'm going to thread through that hole and make it a little tag so it looks like it's hanging off the bottom of the word gifts. And so this just adds kind of some fun to the title there. And this has been my formula for this Bible, is having like a big bold title and then just having tons of room to journal out prayers and notes. I can come back and add notes in as a tip in if I wanted to, so there's lots and lots of room here. I'll go ahead and add just a little bit of adhesive behind that knot just so it's not flopping around all over the place. And I'll just take a ruler to add my journaling lines since these are unlined margins. I'm just going to do a mixture of a prayer and some notes from the devotional. Keep it nice and short and sweet, and then off camera I do add a ribbon tag and the date, and that is pretty much it. So if you have any questions or comments, be sure to leave those down below. Check out the description box for links to everything mentioned in this video. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to my channel if you're not already subscribed. Be sure to click on that bell notification button so you don't miss any future videos from me, and until next time, thank you so much. Bye-bye.